Hey there, I'm Dr. Ryan Williamson. I'm a board certified neurologist, owner and founder of Transcend Health, and proud U.S. Navy veteran. On today's episode, you're going to hear a bunch about how to take effective steps that are simple, easy to help you live a longer, healthier, more impactful life. Hope you enjoy.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show, where we dive deep into real life challenges that keep professionals and entrepreneurs up at night. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and in today's episode, I think this is going to be one of those high impact conversations that will empower you to solve your biggest problems. Now, Dr. Ryan, how are you doing today?
Wonderful. How are you, Prosper?
I am doing fantastic. Now, for those that are tuning in for the very first time, Dr. Ryan Williamson of Transcend Health is a board-certified neurologist, U.S. Navy veteran, founder, and future author. Congratulations, my man. I can't wait to get my hands on that book right there. And he's on a mission to help people understand their brains and bodies so they can live longer, healthier, and have more impactful lives. And if you've ever wondered how to maybe stop treating sickness and start building resilience, I think this is an episode that you need to tune into. Now, Ryan, I could go on and talk about things, but first things first, thank you for your service.
Thank you, Prosper. That's an honor.
Absolutely. Now, you're a motorsport enthusiast, and I think you've also been to a dozen Rammstein grade sort of concerts and things of that nature, from what I hear. Tell me, is there, any correlation to, motorsports and the brain?
Absolutely. What a fun place to start. I think one thing that attracts me to motorsports, outside of my grandfather, which you and I were just chatting about offline, because there's a bit of a legacy component there, is the performance aspect. And, most people don't know this. They think that, racing drivers just kind of drive around in circles and it's sort of a boring thing to the non-fan. But it's a very high performance, high impact, high stakes environment where you have to be mentally and physically very fit to do that job. And in particular, the type of racing that my grandfather did was called endurance racing. So he literally this car would run for 24 hours at a time. And obviously the drivers change. We can't sustain performance that long. And even the stints that they would run for 4 or 6 hours at a time is very taxing on the body. But you've got to perform at a high level. And there are a lot of parallels in life, I think, to this level of performance that we all require. And our brains and our bodies work in a very specific manner. And if we don't understand how all of that works together and what that interplay is like, we're really setting ourselves up for failure. So I think there are a ton of parallels to go into as far as what's the training like and how do you prepare your mind to your body for something like that, whether it's getting in a car or just for showing up to the office. But lots to go over there.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for opening us up with that, because I've also heard that, especially when you're racing, wherever you look, that's where the car goes. Is that?
Yes.
Right.
That's one of the hardest things to learn, and it takes a long time. Yeah, the part of the way your brain looks. Well, let me back up. Your brain receives about 11 million bits of information every second, which is an overwhelming amount of information. Now you can only hold. Yeah, it's impressive. 10 million bits of that comes in through your visual system, so through your eyes. And so your eyes really do craft the majority of your conscious perception and your reality. And, when we don't really think about this, when we're going 20, 30 miles an hour, or do y'all use miles an hour or is it kph down there? Probably kph, right?
Yes, we do kilometers per hour, yeah.
Yeah, so 40 kilometers an hour, something like that, right? Kind of a relatively low speed. You don't really think about these things, but when you're going, 200, 220 kph, something like this, which is very fast on a course, if you're not looking downrange and you're not anticipating what's next, you're on the wall, or you've missed your turn or your braking zone, and boom, you're in a wreck. And I think that the metaphor to life is that if we're not anticipating where are we going and what are we doing with our health, with our brain, with our body, things are breaking down, or we're missing opportunities to correct course and to get where we want to be. And a lot of these things are silent, which kind of scares me. I mean, we don't have a gauge, like an RPM or a gas gauge for some of these molecular changes that happen every day throughout our bodies. And if we're not intentional about what we do with our bodies, this opportunity cost adds up, and it shows up as memory loss, or maybe brain fog, or cognitive slowing, poor sleep. And then one day, you get the big diagnosis like Alzheimer's or a stroke or something terrible like that. And I just want your audience to know that, based on the literature, somewhere between 70 to 90% of all chronic disease is avoidable, and it's really avoidable through lifestyle. And so this is like, well, I have to harp this with people, but you are in control, or you are in the driver's seat of your car or your body, so to speak, and it's up to you where you go. You just have to have the tools and the right team.
Absolutely. Now, when you're driving a car, obviously I've never really driven those, race cars and stuff, but the one that I drive has this little finicky button, light that comes up and it says check engine. I think they should just change that to say this stuff is going to cost you, because every time that thing goes up and you take it to the mechanic, it's just either total and you're going to have to empty your wallet and things of that nature. I wish human beings had something like that.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And funny enough, my wife and I just did our quarterly labs yesterday. So I get my blood drawn about once every 3 months to maintain that, my checking the dipstick or whatever you want to call it. Because you're right, we don't wake up with a gauge that tells us when our vitamin D levels aren't optimal, or our red blood cell count's low, or our kidney function's off, or whatever. So there's a whole spectrum of just tests that we should be doing, or at least thinking about, that at least in the US are relatively low cost. I don't know in Australia if this is cash pay or what the insurance system's like. So that may be a little different, but there should be services like this available where people can, check this on a regular basis just to make sure that they're not missing something. Because again, this all gets back to prevention. I mean, younger people tend to have to worry about these things less. And when I say these things, I mean kind of the scary diagnoses like cancer or something like that, or tumors growing somewhere. But, the earlier you catch something like this, that we have so many more options at our disposal to treat it versus, I can't tell you how many times I've seen this in the hospital, but somebody shows up with back pain or abdominal pain, which is a very vague symptom. And they go through a workup, and before you know it, they've got some terrible stage 4 cancer. It's everywhere. It's in their brain or their lungs, and they've got 6 weeks to live. And that's a tragedy, because the opportunity cost is all, the life, the time with families, the hopes, dreams, visions of people that they could just live and have had they known sooner to just, have it taken out with maybe a quick surgery or, a little bit of treatment or something like that. So really, we have to be proactive about these things.
Absolutely. Obviously, we started off with exactly what it is that you're doing now and things of that nature. But let's zoom out a little bit and maybe track back, just so we can build a bit of context as to, who Ryan Williamson is and why anybody should actually be paying attention to this. So, before Transcend Health, what was life like?
Yeah, well, if we take it all the way back, and this is in the introduction to my book, The Incredible Brain, which will be out September 9th. It was very tough for me to write this and go through it, but I in many ways, had a very traumatic childhood. Fortunately, I know people that have had it worse, but I suffered a lot of loss early. And I was at funeral after funeral, losing, grandparent after aunt after uncle. And that really got some gears turning early to make me question, why do people suffer from disease? Why do they die? What does life mean? Where do they go? And long story short, that ultimately pushed me into a career in medicine, and I also wanted to serve concurrently. So that's where the military part came in. So I did have a U.S. military scholarship for medical school. So the Navy basically paid for me to go be a doctor. Went through my training. Fell in love with the brain, knew I wanted to be a neurologist, My paternal grandfather and an uncle by marriage both had Parkinson's, which is a disease where people get stiff, and it's a neurodegenerative disease where they end up kind of withering away over a period of 10 or 15 years and oftentimes end up with dementia. So it's a very, very difficult existence for people that have this. So that got me interested in neurology. But Prosper, once I went through my training, all my clinical training, I realized that I was only capable of treating, seeing, and diagnosing a very narrow spectrum of diseases, and often diseases that happen in the later phases of someone's life. So, Alzheimer's is diagnosed after age 60, 99% of the time. Parkinson's after age 65. Strokes happen largely after age 50 or 60. So all of these conditions that I'm seeing and really treating, the opportunity is long gone. I mean, we're talking these diseases. We know these diseases start to develop decades before they present clinically. And I mean, for example, Parkinson's only shows up after we've lost over 60% of the dopamine producing cells in our brainstem, which is known to cause the movement symptoms in Parkinson's. So I started asking, how in the world are we missing this? And what can we do to help prevent disease sooner? So I went through the literature on longevity and sort of having a functional medicine lens, which is kind of looking at things from a bigger, broader perspective. And these are conversations I'm having with patients individually, and in my clinic when I was still in the military, and even in the hospital as I've been doing travel work across the country in the United States. And I finally said, I can't reach. I can only reach so many people in a day, right? Maybe I see 20 patients in clinic. I see 25 patients in a hospital in a day, something like this. This is not an ideal way to get this message out to the world. So I wanted to write a book, and I came out with this idea, outlined the book, and got ready and reached out to a team that would help me publish it. And literally 2 days after I sent that email, my lifelong best friend died unexpectedly. Total shock. It was an accident. Fortunately, it wasn't there's nothing fortunate about that situation. I guess fortunately, I don't think it was anything that was that anybody knew anything about. I don't think he suffered at all, thankfully. But that opened up a very deep reflection, and I asked myself, what am I doing? What am I really making a difference in the world? And after getting through the grief and coming to the end of that process, I said, okay, this is what I'm here to do, to help share this message with more people, to help people understand that they can live longer, healthier, more impactful lives if they remain in control and they at least just understand what to do. Because I'm just Prosper. I'm just so tired of seeing this stuff that's so preventable. So that's been the last year of my life is creating Transcend Health and coaching people and helping them through that journey, and excited to have the book out and continue on.
Absolutely, and sorry to hear about your friend, but I'm happy that you're honoring him with the sort of work that you're doing. We're gonna maybe touch up on that a little bit, but you see, Ryan, I understand you were in the Navy, okay, and I understand you probably know a thing or two about self-defense, guns, and navigating your way in the sea and things of that nature. But how big is your security detail? Because what you're touching up on is systemic. It's designed like that. Mm-hmm. Sick care is how they want it to be like. So because there's customers in a sick person.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. So again, the Western medicine is not healthcare. It is sick care. You hit the nail on the head. And medical school is fascinating to me because you do learn how the body works. You learn what can go wrong. It's just it really is I was fascinated the whole time. So I really enjoyed that process. But and even residency was interesting too, because you're sitting on the shoulders of these academic giants that are big names in the field, and they publish all these papers, and they're such intelligent, incredible, giving people. But you come through the other side of it and you start practicing, and again, you just realize, like, I don't ever hear about somebody unless they have already had or they are in the middle of a terrible problem. Somebody's facing a life-threatening seizure or a disabling stroke, or they're in a coma, or they may have brain death, or just some terrible thing. And these are sick people that we have there's a whole system built upon keeping people sick and prescribing drugs that cost a lot of money, and a pharmaceutical industry, at least in our country, that backs this and even backs the training of doctors. And the incentive of the payer to provider is misaligned, in my opinion. I mean, there's no, at least in the United States, there's no effective reimbursement code for prevention. It's all about, what procedure can you do that bills the most, that that helps doctors make money, which is that's a whole nother can of worms. But the patient is the one that suffers, and there's not enough people having this conversation that we need to be focusing on really what I call my core four. So movement, nutrition, stress management, and effective sleep. And there's a whole bunch. I mean, they're different, kind of subcategories to all of those. But if people do four simple things, if they just get up and move every day, if they fuel their body with the right nutrition, again, you can't run a race car without, high performance fuel, right? If they sleep well, so again, you gotta rest to let your brain and your body heal. And you've got to effectively manage stress. If you can do those four things, I mean, you are 95% of the way there. And these are simple, and unfortunately, they're not easy because of the world that we live in. And we were chatting, kind of offline earlier about the distractions of technology and social media, and how incredible, right? I mean, here you are in Australia, here I am in the United States. We're halfway across the world having a real-time conversation. So, I mean, it's just we're more connected than we've ever been. Yet in other ways, we're more disconnected because of just the constant barrage of information that our brains are trying to make sense of. And then you've got the existential angst of AI and technology and where are we headed and what to do. And, there's so much distraction, Prosper, that I think we need to return to fundamentals and principles. And if we understand, if that's our foundation, right? If we can rest on these pillars and understand how our brains and our bodies work, it doesn't matter what's coming next, because you can optimize your functioning for whatever the world is ahead. But if we don't do that, then we're just, we're like a pinball in a machine, is what I like to say. You're getting bounced around from crisis to crisis. We're just reactive and not in control. And that's no way to live life. And unfortunately, that's what I see with most people that end up in my world. They're just so stressed and so unsure where to go. And we've got to be able to hit that reset button. And it's absolutely possible. I mean, you can rewire your brain to retake control. It just takes education, direction, a compass heading, North Stars, as you said earlier. And that's it. So,
you see, what you touch upon is something that so many people are going through every single day. I mean, fish don't see the water that they swim in. You see, when
yes.
you were sending your information to the podcast, we asked for your address. Right now, I can send a coffee to your house just from the touch of the phone, right? And I don't even need to move anything or even boil the water for you to get that coffee. Now, you can imagine all the other creature comforts that have been made available. You can watch a whole series, plus commercials in 35 minutes. You just binge watch it on Netflix and you already know what's happening in everything else. It's a lot for people to work around, okay? Like, where can people get information to then really help themselves when the stuff that is meant to keep us locked in is readily available, whereas the information that really helps, I don't know where to Google or what to look for me to find movement, nutrition, or effective, sleep and stress antidotes. Yeah.
So that's another reason that I got into this, is that there is so much misinformation out there. So it's a very crowded sea, and that's a perfect analogy. We don't, our brains are really good at keeping us comfortable and keeping us safe. And we really get used to whatever our degree of functioning is. And I see people all the time, I mean, literally every day that I encounter, that are miserable, and they just don't know it because their brain is trying to say, no, it's fine. I mean, they're in the middle of just a firestorm, and they're like, everything's fine. I mean, but their world's on fire. So helping people realize that, number one, is an important part of the step. And that's honestly one of my biggest challenges that I didn't foresee in this situation. Because when somebody does come to the hospital and they can't move their arm or talk, like that's pretty obvious to most people. Although to really split that hair, sometimes people that are having strokes aren't aware of what's going on, which is another fascinating syndrome, but I'll table that. But for the average person that's just getting by, right? They just, they've got to wake up, they've got a job to do, they've got kids to feed. They're trying to get after it, and they don't realize how far they've deviated from what optimal performance should be or how things could be. So that's a challenge. And it really takes a long look in the mirror to understand that, and a reminder of what's normal to be able to process that. That's kind of the framework. But where to look, because sorry, I got distracted here. Where to look? There's so much misinformation on, Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. And it's always just some influencer trying to peddle some product, buy my supplement or do this routine, or, if you do this type of whatever, it'll change your life. And again, back to just fundamentals and principles, I am trained to look at scientific data, to interpret that evidence, to put that into context, to understand what do we know works, what has been tested, tried and true, and how does this apply to your life? Plain and simple. So that's how I approach this. And when I go through this with people, again, back to that core four, that's all evidence based, or that's data driven. There's some really exciting directions that the research is headed, and we may be to a point in another 5, 10, or however many years where there may be a pill or an injection or something available that could mimic a lot of this, but we're not there yet. And we know what works, we know what has worked, and will continue to work based on, again, how our brains and bodies are designed. And so, again, just putting just this lifestyle framework into place is so fundamentally important, before people get serious about taking a pill or a supplement or doing whatever. I mean, again, if you're not eating the right stuff, sleeping well, exercising, managing your stress, having effective relationships, etc., it's just hard. It's hard to perform well. It just your body's just, again, designed to operate in a specific way.
Absolutely.
Did that answer it, or did I get distracted?
No, absolutely. Well, there was so much in that question anyway. And, it got me thinking. I mean, obviously, since there's not that much information out there that really points us to, how people can actually get started on this journey, I'm just supposing if people start feeling lumps or bumps, then they can just come to a neurologist, right? That's what you guys do.
So more lumps and bumps, maybe more of a primary care doctor first, and they're going to triage you out to the specialists, or maybe get an image or a picture or something, right? But yes, so our lumps and bumps would be things like, headaches or numbness or tingling or vision problems. That's, but again, that's back to that kind of sick care model. And again, what I really want people to start focusing on is taking control of their life before symptoms show up. Because again, back to your analogy about the spend money gauge on the car, right, or the check engine light. Again, we don't have that, and so I really want people to understand that what you do right now and every single day matters, and every decision we make is an investment in our future self. And most people have probably heard of compound interest when it comes to investments. So you invest $1 today in something, and maybe it grows by 5 or 10 cents, and then in 20 or 30 years, maybe you've amassed some more money, right? Dollar for dollar. Well, your body works the same way, and your habits compound, and they either compound in a positive direction or they compound in a negative direction. And when it comes to aging, this really all comes down to these kind of microscopic or subcellular changes in your body, and I give these striking examples in the book. These are true patient stories of mine. But I remember as a fourth year medical student, I saw this is the oldest patient that I saw at that point in my training, a 103-year-old guy, like just strolls into clinic with his wife, and he's talking about how he golfs every day and he dances, and he's just this happy, joyous, radiant person. And it like knocked me out of my chair, because I'm like, how is 103? Are you kidding me? Like, I'd never seen somebody that old, or not to mention in great shape. Contrast that with a lady who I swear I thought she was in her 80s when I walked into her room. This is only a couple years ago, when I was a fully trained doctor. She was 49, and she appeared to me like she was 30 years older. And these are literally people that, this lady was under half the age of this 103-year-old. So a 49-year-old compared to a 103-year-old. And she came in with a stroke. I mean, she could barely get out of bed. She was so sick, had all these chronic diseases. And, you have to ask yourself, how in the world could somebody that has a 54-year age gap between them, right? How could they be so different? And it comes down to what they did every day. And that's what I mean. These habits, they compound in a positive direction or they compound in a negative direction. So it's not, life isn't about, I mean, we all have luck, of course. I mean, that's given. I mean, the fact that we're able to, again, that you could send me the coffee in Atlanta and then we can have the Zoom call, right? We are very fortunate to be in the situation we're in, of course. But when it comes to your health, assuming that you just, haven't had any misfortune there and you're able to take control of your life, it's not luck. It's not genetics. It's your lifestyle. It's what you do every day. And that matters.
Absolutely. I mean, not to brag, but I'm 92 right now. So
Yeah. You look amazing for 92, Prosper. I would have never known.
thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of work. But you did mention habits and things like that, Ryan. What is maybe like a quick, maybe 2-minute daily habit that somebody can start incorporating into their life, immediately, so they can start embodying that whole Transcend Health, way of being?
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned 2 minutes because there's actually one that literally takes 2. Well, there are 2 that take 2 minutes, but we'll start with one that's a movement-based activity, and that's something called exercise snacks. So people think that to go exercise, I've got to buy all this equipment or join a gym or do whatever. Totally not true. If you, for 2 minutes a day, if you do what are called air squats, so if you just kind of do squats in place, to kind of get your breathing and your heart rate up, or maybe push-ups or jumping jacks or like high knees in place, so kind of run in place get your knees up, that kind of thing. If you do that for 2 minutes, right, just 3 times a day, so 2 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes midday, 2 minutes in the afternoon. Big study looking at, oh gosh, I'm going to miss the quote here. I think it's in the British Medical Journal, but I mean, we're talking, this is tens of thousands of people. I don't remember the actual number. So, but anyway, this is not a small study is my point. But these people had about a 40% lowered all-cause mortality, which means that for just a 6-minute a day investment, so 2 minutes, 3 times a day, these people had a 40% lower chance of dying of anything compared to people who didn't do this. So if you don't have 6 minutes in your day, you need to seriously reevaluate what you're doing with your life, because we've all got 6 minutes, right? That doesn't involve a drive to the gym or wherever. You just do it at your desk or at your office. So that's an easy pickup for just that's an outsized return for a very small investment on that compound curve, right? So that's an easy one. Another one you can build in that takes, again, it doesn't even have to be 2 minutes, but any kind of basic breath work. So taking a long, slow inhale through the nose, for maybe a 4 count or 6 count, holding it for 4 seconds, and then letting it all out through the mouth for 6 seconds. Doing that for, you could do it twice, you'll feel better, I assure you, but 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, doesn't matter. That knocks people out of that stressed state, and it engages. So your stress mode is we call your sympathetic nervous system that drives this, the fight or flight mode, where you want to go fight the tiger or run away from the bear or whatever, that kind of thing. That gets people out of that state and into a more calm, relaxed, we call the rest digest state, and your parasympathetic nervous system is turned on. So not only does that help people feel better in the moment, so if you're feeling stressed, you're feeling overwhelmed, that calms people down and allows them to focus, but this is a trainable phenomenon. And so the more you do this, the more you elevate control and even the thickness of a region of your brain called your prefrontal cortex, which is the spot right behind your forehead right here. And this is like the CEO of your brain. So this is responsible for all of our higher order functions, our executive thinking, our working memory, emotional regulation, all of it. And when we're in the pinball in the machine mode, when we're reacting and we're stressed and all of that, right, that thing is knocked offline. We are not in control. And breath work increases control over the prefrontal cortex, not just in the moment, but it rewires your brain. And it actually causes connections to change in your brain that thicken that prefrontal cortex, that make the connections between the neurons more robust, and over time makes it more likely that you stay or enter that state and stay out of the reactive stress state the more you do it. So again, for a 2-minute investment, 5-minute investment every day to work on that breath work, you're going to feel better in the moment. You're going to perform better. And over time, your brain is actually going to rewire itself around this to keep you in better control. Stack that on with your movement, your exercise snacks. Now you're building positive habits. And Prosper, once people start doing this, once people start building these habits in, which, by the way, doesn't have to take that long. I mean, once people feel better, go, man, moved a little bit, feel pretty good. For that matter, I mean, it's early here. I was actually thinking about my morning routine to get ready for this, to kind of activate myself. What did I do? Well, I mean, I did have a little bit of coffee after I woke up, so that helped stimulate me some. I've got some lights in my studio, but I have a dedicated bright light that mimics the sun when I wake up when it's dark. So that actually, light is very important for the brain. I'm getting off on a tangent here. I'm just trying to prove a point.
That's all right.
But light helps activate my brain. And then I actually did a bunch of push-ups and air squats, because when you activate big muscles, there's a series of events that happens that actually elevates a neurotransmitter in your brain called norepinephrine. And that projects to multiple brain areas, including that prefrontal cortex. And it actually activates your focus, your alertness, your ability to dial in and stay online and stay sharp. And again, over time, rewires those connections to help keep you sharper. So my point is, these are things you can do in the moment that help you improve your performance, number one, but number two, long-term help with your health and help with your brain reshaping itself over time. So pretty cool. And those are easy investments.
Well, I think those are easy investments, because from what you're saying, I was trying to calculate as you were going. I was still holding on to my calculator. Whatever you mentioned, it's either free, or you can do it without having to pay or leave your actual home. Now, instinct will tell you that that's the best course of action. But what keeps people from actually getting started? And do you have a way that you then guide them to get past this? Because most of the things that you mentioned are definitely for free. Maybe that light that you mentioned might cost a beat on Amazon, but the rest of the things, breathing, jumping, and all the other things, are free.
You nailed it. This gets back to fish not being able to see the water. So I think most people just don't know, A, that this is an option, B, how impactful these options are, and C, that it's available to them, or what it could do for their life. Because again, everybody, this is my observation, but everybody seems to be in survival mode right now. They're just trying to get by. They're trying to wake up, get to work, go make a paycheck so they can, take care of their family, their kids. At least in our country, our government prints money like crazy, so inflation's out of control. So the harder people work, the less our dollar's worth. So there's a whole other conversation around financial health that we could have, and how to get past that to invest in your future. But again, there's so much distraction that it's really easy to miss the basics. And again, that's why I really want to encourage people to focus on these principles and make sure that that's a foundational core part of their life. Because if you got that taken care of, you have so much more resilience and so much more bandwidth to go tackle the day-to-day problems of life, number one. So it improves your performance in the moment, and it actually elevates your ability to go do more of the things you love and want. But it also will help you live a healthier and a longer life. We all, at least in our country, we think a lot about lifespan. And I don't know if this is an Australia issue, but in the United States, we keep people alive at all costs. And this is part of my job in the hospital, unfortunately, is to tell people, hey, I think dad's probably not going to wake up, which is a terrible conversation to have. But people struggle with this idea of letting people go in our culture. And, we all want to live a long life, but I don't think any of us would want to live a long life if we couldn't do the things we love. And so maintaining our health over time, like you being a 92-year-old hosting a podcast, writing a book, and all of that, right? That's health span, right? So maintaining our function for as long as possible. But in all seriousness, I mean, if you made it, to 92 or 150 or pick a number, if you could do the things you wanted to do, Prosper, like, why not, right? I mean, if you could do all the things that you love, why not? And so being able to do this and maintaining this level of function is it's so important for people. I got distracted from the original question, but anyway.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You see, the thing is, you can't do well if you don't feel well. And I viscerally believe if you've got something to look forward to, like you are writing a book, right? You're creating all of this stuff. You'd obviously want to see it through. So definitely you're going to want to make sure that the machine that you're going to arrive in, or in the body you're going to arrive in, is fit for purpose at that particular time. But Ryan, you were in the Navy. You obviously are coming from a very disciplined arena. You know what I mean? I listen to David Goggins and I'm just like, whoa, bro, I thought I was, and there's times where, his wife or his partner is just filming him and he's running in the thick of night and he's just doing it. If she didn't film, nobody would see that he did it, and he just does it because it has to be done. Does it frustrate you when you come across civilians who just want to eat a burger, and want to flick through TV?
It's a good question. Well, so funny enough, and this, so Goggins was a Navy SEAL, right? So he was the elite of the elite in terms of what our special forces operators are trained to do. Andy went through Ranger School and so on and so forth. I mean, the guy is just a machine. But does it frustrate me? In some way, it's not the people that frustrate me, because it's no one's fault, right? It's the world that we're thrown into. And a stat that most people probably don't know, and I don't know if I should be disclosing this on international podcasts or whatever, but the vast majority, so up to over 2/3 of our military, of the United States military, are overweight or obese. And you might think, okay, we've got these ultra elite, high performing soldiers, and without splitting hairs, different branches and special forces, yeah, sure, those people are in top shape because they have to be. But I mean, I would regularly have my corpsmen, which are kind of my medics that would help run my clinic. They would have to miss clinic because if they didn't make their weight, or they weren't in their physical regulations, the Navy would have to put them on a diet program and on an exercise program, and this impacts us all. I mean, this isn't a civilian versus military issue. I mean, this is a global, Western problem. And there are different theories on how we got here, but I mean, there's this sedentary life that most of us live. It's the overconsumption of very calorically dense but nutrient poor food. Overeating kills more people than starvation does today around the world. Now, I know there's some outsized statistics there, and there are certain sub-Saharan countries in Africa that still, food access, clean water access is a problem. So obviously there's still that needs to be addressed. But in general, in developed Western countries, we are overnourished and we have serious medical problems as a result of that. And that impacts everybody. So that's what I mean about just like, if anything, I want to just wake people up and say, hey, this is this is what we need to do. I'm not mad at you. It's just the world we're thrown into. And once you start seeing things from that lens, I mean, it really does feel like you've unplugged from the Matrix in a way. Maybe I'm dating myself here a little bit. But The Matrix 1999, Keanu Reeves, go watch it if you haven't seen it. Great movie. But the other day I was in the hospital. I was on my way to the ICU to go see some very sick people, and I saw this lady who had a walker. I don't know how old she was, but I'm guessing she was in her late 60s. She could barely get around because she had to use the walker, and it was one of these walkers you could turn around and sit on it. So she's sitting on this thing, and she's in front of the vending machine. She's already got a soda that's got all this processed sugar and food, artificial dyes and coloring and all this stuff. And she's reaching up to try to put money in to get out chips or a cinnamon roll or whatever. And I just thought to myself, like, how sad is this? That this person is here seeing somebody who's probably dying or is critically ill because she's in the ICU, and she doesn't know enough about how to just take basic care of herself, that she's already so disabled at her age that she can barely get around on a walker, and she's addicted to this processed garbage that's only further exacerbating the problem. And this is a crisis. I mean, we are not headed in a positive direction unless we fix this and again, just hop in the driver's seat and take control of that race car again. Because if we don't, I can tell you the end destination. I see it every day.
Oh, I can say that. But Ryan, if you're gonna be in a race car, please don't take me along, because have you ever seen that guy who shows the driver the map? I'll be like, hey, do you want to pass the drive through or something like that? I'll just be distracting the guy. But now that you've obviously mentioned that this actually works on real humans, it's not just, people that have gone through Navy training and things like that. You've actually brought thousands from stuck to strong. Do you have, maybe, obviously without mentioning names or defining, identifying parts, like you've already given, state secrets. Now we know about the American Army now. Can you maybe give us a quick, maybe, client story that's, just really touched you, or that shows you that there is a bit of hope in all of this that we're doing?
Absolutely. I, I I get emotional when I think about it, Prosper, because it makes such a difference in people's lives. And when I hear this, I mean it reaffirms my belief in what I'm doing, because I know that this stuff works. And when I can see people that, when I see the change in them and I see the shift and I see that their optimism about their future and their life and what they get to do, that, man, there's no better feeling. I assure you. But I can think of one in particular. This is a friend or an acquaintance that we met who joined our group coaching program at Transcend Health. And within the past, not even year, I mean, this has been, gosh, the last 6 or 8 months, he's lost 30 pounds. He's intentional about what he eats. He's sleeping better. He's wearing wearable devices. We didn't get into this, but I wear something called an Aura ring. I don't know if do y'all have the Aura ring down there? Do you guys wear this, like, or Whoop band,
Yes,
or any of this
yes,
kind of
yes,
stuff?
yes. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
So he tracks his sleep. I have no relationship to Aura, just what I wear. But anyway, enough stories. So he's wearing this thing. He's doing neurofeedback with another device. Again, I'm not promoting products here, but there's this little EEG device that goes on your head where people can connect to this app on the phone. And again, it's back to that prefrontal cortex rewiring. So he's exercising. My point is, he's doing all of this, right? He's put these intentional changes into his life, and he just gets up and tells people this stuff. Like, we do events together and have fun, and we share good times, but he just, like, offers these open testimonials all the time. And I don't ask for him to do that, but every time I hear this guy talk and I know the impact that he's had, that we've had on his life and that he's able to have on other people, it's beautiful. And that's the whole idea. The subtitle of my book and this whole, Transcend Health core mission is to help people live longer, healthier, more impactful lives. And the longer and healthier we talked about, lifespan, health span, that's all very important. But the impact, Prosper, is this is really where this gets fun, because if I can change one person's life, right, and help and improve their health, they get to then go impact their community. And if they're functioning at their best, that message spreads to everybody they know. And if they can impact those people, I mean, it's this whole butterfly effect, or this, again, back to compounding, or even me having the opportunity to connect through Rigare, who connected us, and now I'm talking to you in Australia and your audience. I mean, that's what this is about. I mean, if we can change one person's life to just go be an advocate for better health and for better performance and people showing up for each other, just the world's a better place, and everybody's happier and more capable, and we can focus on the positive and just not all the negative stuff that we all deal with.
Absolutely. And obviously, in my culture, even Rigari's culture, we've got a statement that says, if you want to go far, you go alone. But if you want to go further, you go together. And, for those that are listening to this and obviously trying to find their feet around the whole misinformation that's around, you're launching the Incredible Brain this September. Maybe you can just, walk us through what that is and what sort of insights in there that people can actually try and latch onto.
Yeah. So The Incredible Brain will be my first book, so I'm very excited about it. And it's kind of a summary of what I've been telling my patients over the last handful of years about how to do all this and put this into practice. But I got distracted on this earlier. I couldn't think of what I wanted to say. And now I remember that you asked me about the book. But the book is broken into 2 parts, what we call the mechanisms and the interventions. But before that, chapter 1 is literally called Find Your Why. And the reason I start there is that you have to understand your purpose. What are you doing this all for? What do you want your legacy to be? What mark do you want to leave on the world? What's important to you? What gets you up? What gets you out of bed every day? And that's really what when you asked the question earlier, what's stopping people from doing all of this? That really is at the crux of it. It's getting people to identify that purpose and their why and their mission, because that really is your North Star. And that helps you understand and grounds you in why do we do anything? Right? Why do we do podcasts? Why do we drive to work every day? Why does any of that matter? And that's worth spending some time on, because we can get excited and we can get motivated, or we can listen to David Goggins' video when he's running and telling you to get out there and do it, right? Yeah, we've all seen that, right? Or if you haven't, go look it up. Yeah, who's going to carry the boats? That's right. Yes. So that's motivation. But when it comes to discipline, because distractions are going to happen, because life happens, and it's easy to just sit back on the couch and pop open the bag of chips or whatever you like. When you've got your why and your purpose in focus, you go, oh, right, that's what I'm after. So that's how the book opens. That's where we start. And then I mentioned the mechanisms. So that's a lot of what we've talked about as far as how does your body work, what can go wrong, and hope for fixing it. And then part 2 are the interventions, and that's just putting in all these foundational principles that we've talked about, just walking people through that process.
Absolutely. And I kind of feel like you're literally giving people back to themselves, because these are things that we already have. Some of them are for free, like all the things that you mentioned, the sleep, the movement, nutrition, all those activities, the breathing and things of that nature. So yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on this, especially the book. And if somebody just wants to connect with you prior, or maybe get onto some waiting list or things like that, where can they go on the internet, Ryan?
Yeah, please. So our website is transcendhealthgroup.com. Certainly can provide that for you, so that way we can link it. But that gets you to our website. There is a page for the book, so you can register for, just if you want to be notified when the book comes out, or grab a pre-sale or whatever. That's up, so we can do that. But if you want to join our group coaching program, that's an option too for people. That link is on there. And for people that want a more high-touch approach and they want to work one-on-one with me, that's an option as well. There's something for everybody in our ecosystem, and if all that is outside of the price point or somebody's means, I try to do as much free content as I can. I'm building out a few free courses that we're going to put on YouTube, so those will be available in the next month or so. I do Instagram, which again, those links are on the website. So it's at Transcend Health Group is our Instagram link, or at Dr. Ryan Williamson, Dr. Ryan Williamson is my personal. But so I try to do as much as I can. Free virtual meetups, we do one of those every couple months, or I just talk about a topic on Zoom. So there are ways to get involved at every level, depending on what people need.
Absolutely. I'll definitely make sure that all those links are in the show notes, so that people can actually start finding their way to you. Now, Ryan, you did mention that the first part of your book speaks about the why, the reason and tendre, the reason why you're doing this. Now, you had, a lot of people as you were growing up, sort of leaving you or departing, so to speak. And most recently, you lost your best friend in such a tragic moment. Like, that was your way, or that was your in for you to just maybe say, you know what, I've had my fair share of trauma. Let me just go and fix my own life and figure it out by myself. Why are you doing this now for everyone?
I don't want people to arrive at the same predictable conclusion that so many of my family members have, and that so many of my patients that I've seen over my last decade and a half in medicine have. Again, if we don't take care of our exercise, our sleep, our nutrition, our stress management, all these things, a very predictable sequence of events happens in the body, where our cells age rapidly. We develop chronic diseases like high blood pressure and obesity, maybe diabetes, high cholesterol, so on and so forth. And then eventually we end up disabled, and like the lady in the walker at the ICU, or worse, with a stroke or a life-ending heart attack or something like this. And, it's not it's not just about helping people live longer or again, getting to some old age or whatever. It's, every one of these people, every one of these patients that I've seen that I've had this conversation with or that I haven't been able to save, that represents a life. And that person was somebody's dad or brother. They were an employee. They were a contributing member of society. They had visions. They had dreams. They had goals. They had a why. And just the opportunity cost of losing that when it is so preventable is just like it's hard to explain. I mean, like this keeps me up at night. I mean, it really, it's just so frustrating that more people don't know this, and it's sad, quite frankly. I mean, it's touched me, and obviously, my whole life. I mean, I've just witnessed it just year after year after year, and the opportunity is there to help people, and I just want people to know that this is absolutely possible and available to you. You just got to know what to do and where to go.
Absolutely. Now, Ryan, I can't thank you enough for the time that we spent on the call today. I mean, your life story and your experience and what it is that you're doing to send the elevator down is remarkable. There are so many people that are hell-bent on making sure that people do not live their most optimum lives. And there you are, all by your lonesome and your team and the group at Transcend Health, just giving people yet another day. So I think on behalf of all of humanity, thank you for your service, man. Like not only in the Navy, but for the work that you're doing, because like I said, how big is your security detail? Because there are people that are benefiting from this being like this. So
Yeah.
thank you,
Well,
man.
thank you. No, thank you, Prosper. It really is an honor to be in the position to try to help to get this message out to the world. And I thank you for your platform and the opportunity. And I mean that.
Absolutely. Well, for those that are watching, this has been a powerhouse of transformation. I mean, not only Ryan's, but even I am feeling the goosebumps and the actual chills because this is bigger than one person. I mean, the man went through grief and now he's growing. And not only is he doing it just for himself, but he's doing it for each and every one of us. And even your unborn child right now. That's a lot of work, and thank you so much. And it's quite interesting. Now, folks, if you're ready to finally stop just surviving and start thriving, I urge you to check out Transcend Health at transcendhealthgroup.com. I'll be putting in all those links in the show notes for private or group coaching, just to do and have a happier existence. I mean, everything else that we are eating, are being exposed to, is just designed literally to take the life out of us. And I also want to encourage you to share this episode with somebody who needs a smarter path to health. We all know an auntie, a sister, a brother, a dad, a mom that might be skimping on sleep, exercise, or just eating whatever is within arm's length, because nobody has to wait until crisis to start healing, as Ryan has said. And if somebody has shared this with you, the next time you see them, give them a big hug. And be sure to subscribe to the Online Prosperity Show so you do not miss out on any of these, transformative conversations. And here in the next episode, we're going to be exploring ideas that will help you not just build on success, but a happier existence. Now, I can't thank Ryan enough for being on this show and our ghost introduction from Rugare. I'll be talking to him a little bit later on, but thank you all for being here. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, stay curious, stay proactive, and keep building your prosperity. Bye for now.